Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 3 Legend of the Dragon King Part 11 based on novel. So let's start. The icily arrogant youth was sent flying in a flash after being struck by Tang Wulin's explosive punch. As his fist had connected with the youth's face, Tang Wulin released the binding of his blue-silver grass, allowing the arrogant youth to fly out of the room like an artillery shell. With a boom, the arrogant youth was embedded into the wall of the hall. Yes, he was embedded. In front of Tang Wulin's power, he couldn't even resist. The arrogant youth was an agility system battle soul master, so he excelled in quick attacks. Their weakness was that agility system battle soul masters lacked defensive capabilities. If they were hit, especially by someone like Tang Wulin whose innate strength surpassed a power system battle soul masters, they would immediately be knocked down. As a result, that arrogant youth had already lost consciousness the moment he was sent flying. Tang Wulin was gasping for breath amidst the disarray of his room. Yun Xiao was already hiding in the corner of his bed as he stared at Tang Wulin fearfully. For a moment, he was completely at a loss as to what he had just witnessed. Was this guy even human? Even that dressy guy was sent flying by him. Tang Wulin crouched down and gently picked up his blanket. He brushed the dust off of it and held it tight. Fortunately, the blanket hadn't been damaged, just dirtied. What's going on? Right at that moment, a firm voice came from the hall. Sun with rays. 10 minutes later. East Sea Academy's intermediate teaching building. So in conclusion, this tragedy was triggered over a blanket. Long Hongshu coldly looked at the four boys in front of him. His frowning expression was like a drop of water. Zhu Zhangxi, Yun Xiao, Tang Wulin, and that arrogant youth were all standing side by side. The arrogant youth's eyes had an ice-cold radiance in them which would occasionally glance at Tang Wulin from time to time. Zhu Zhangxi's expression was ashen, and he was covered with bruises from head to toe. If one were attentive, they would discover a trace of fear in his eyes which refused to even make contact with Tang Wulin. Yun Xiao was the one who thoroughly explained what had transpired. After hearing Yun Xiao's account, Long Hongshu grasped what had happened. Tang Wulin stood there with his blanket firmly in hand, simply looking at the embroidered flower with a lowered head. His large and pretty eyes were filled with stubbornness. Zhu Zhangxi, originally with a martial soul like yours, you would have been assigned to Class 3, however, your soul power rank was too low. Now it seems that your moral conduct is equally as low. Getting beaten up serves you right. You'll be in Class 5 permanently, Long Hongshu coldly stated. Zhu Zhangxi wanted to refute him, but when he saw Long Hongshu's frowning expression, he didn't dare speak. You two also. Fighting as soon as you enter the academy. You'll both be in Class 5. Getting beaten up only serves you right too. Long Hongshu said this to Yun Xiao and that arrogant youth this time. The arrogant youth didn't seem to understand Long Hongshu's words at all as his gaze was on Tang Wulin the whole time. His cheeks were quite swollen after Tang Wulin's punch. If he hadn't recoiled his head so quickly, he feared that he wouldn't have many teeth left after Tang Wulin's terrifying hit. Yun Xiao refuted in shock, Director Long, I wasn't involved in the fight at all. From the beginning to end, I was simply a spectator. Long Hongshu coldly answered, you're all in the same dorm room. If you see them fighting and don't take any action to stop it, how can you say that's a good thing? That you're the righteous one? You're so sly at such a young age, how could you grow up to be any good? Do you have anything left to say? As for you. Long Hongshu's gaze switched to Tang Wulin. You're so good, huh? You won a fight, 1 against 2. This time's matter can't be blamed on you as you were provoked. It's good that a man is brave, so I won't punish you. However, your martial soul is just blue-silver grass, so you're stuck in Class 5. Tang Wulin raised his head in astonishment. He had thought that he would receive the heaviest punishment. After all, he was the one who hit them, and not lightly either. Zhu Zhangxi was covered in purple bruises while the arrogant youth's face was swollen like a steamed bun, yet he wasn't being punished. Thank you for your fairness, Tang Wulin said hastily. Long Hangshu indifferently said, although there was a cause for the fight, there's still a need to compensate for the damages. I'll give you the costs to repair the window, the bed, and the walls later so you can pay it back. Ah? Tang Wulin was stunned. Pay up? He only had the 3,000 federal coins that his father had given him. This was his pocket money for the whole semester. Because education was compulsory, food and living expenses were all covered. So, there wasn't many things he needed to pay for. Go now. You can continue fighting if you want, but next time, it'll be added to your record. The result of the battle, along with the record that about your talent to become a mecha master, will affect whether or not you'll be accepted into an advanced academy in the future. If you have the courage, then go fight. But if you really want to fight, then you better not let the academy find out about it. Otherwise, there will be a severe punishment. After exiting the teacher's office, Long Hangshu's strict voice still lingered in their ears. However, Tang Wulin's mood was much better now. Even if he didn't know how much he had to pay for the repairs, the academy had dealt with this affair impartially and justly. They hadn't been biased towards the others just because his martial soul was no good. Sun with rays. Outside of the teaching building. Long Hangshu glanced at the secretary to the side with narrowed eyes. Give me Tang Wulin's profile to look at. Director, isn't that child's martial soul just blue-silver grass? The secretary asked in surprise. The solemn expression on Long Hangshu's face previously had disappeared. In its place was a slight smile. Blue-silver grass? I fear it's not that simple. He was able to beat up 2 people single-handedly on his first day, and one of those kids is from the Xie family. How could a brat with only blue-silver grass accomplish this? Moreover, he was able to cultivate a trash martial soul like blue-silver grass to rank 11 at the young age of 9 years old. Just this would make him a prodigy. Contrary to what you might think, we must pay close attention to him. Sun with rays. They returned to the dorm room, but it was still a mess. No one had cleaned it up for them. Tang Wulin silently placed his blanket on the table, then picked up all of his things. Zhu Shangxi stood off to the side, clenching and opening his fists tightly several times. The icily arrogant youth glanced at Yun Xiao, who was on the bottom of their bunk bed, then pointed upwards. You go up. Yun Xiao was stunned for a moment. However, in the face of that arrogant youth's sinister expression, he chose to smile and speedily cleaned up his things before climbing to the top bunk. He was a clever and resourceful person. Why would he go and provoke a volcano that could erupt at any moment? The icily arrogant youth's hands flashed with a brilliant light for a moment, causing a clean bedsheet to mysteriously appear in his hands. Afterwards, he spread the sheet over the bed. As for the bunk bed on the other side of the room, the top bunk had been destroyed while the bottom bunk was Zhu Zhangxi's. Tang Wulin tidied up his things, then put them on the bottom bunk. After setting down his things, he turned around and coldly looked at Zhu Zhangxi. You get up. Zhu Zhangxi roared. Tang Wulin coldly answered, Get lost. Zhu Zhangxi wanted to get up in anger. Don't be so impulsive. Have you already forgotten what Director Long said? Could it be that you don't want to become a mech master in the future? Yun Xiao said as he jumped down from the top bunk. Zhu Zhangxi's breathing was clearly a bit ragged as Tang Wulin picked up the crumbled top bunk, tore it apart, and then threw it out the window. The entire top bunk had been obliterated completely. It should be this one. A middle-aged academy staff member said before he entered the room with a wooden bed. He looked at the queer atmosphere between the 4 boys and chuckled to himself, That's right. Fighting on the first day of school, you boys definitely have a bright future. If you all want to continue fighting, then come hit this bed with all your strength. It costs 10,000 federal coins. So go ahead and fight. My bonus will be even bigger that way. As he said this, he lifted up the bedboard and placed it on the top bunk. The bedboard went in perfectly. 10,000 federal coins? Tang Wulin went wide-eyed in shock. It was just a bed's board. Teacher, do we have to buy that one, or can we go out and buy one? Tang Wulin hurriedly asked. The teacher snorted and said, Do you think the academy is your house? Destruction of property is a serious crime here. I assume you Tang Wulin then? The costs to repair the window, bedboard, and wall is a total of 34,000 federal coins. Hurry up and go pay for the repair costs at the administration office. 34,000 federal coins? Tang Wulin was stunned when he heard this number. All the money he had earned during his 3 years of forging had only totaled up to be 30,000 federal coins. This was simply too expensive. When Zhu Shangxi, who had been glaring at Tang Wulin, heard this, he immediately climbed up to the top bunk without uttering another word. Tang Wulin sat on his bed and pondered over what to do. 34,000 federal coins. It was 34,000 federal coins. My name is Xie Xie. The icily arrogant youth had walked up to Tang Wulin and boldly introduced himself. You're welcome. Tang Wulin subconsciously answered. You're welcome. The stern expression on Xie Xie's face collapsed at that moment. Who was he calling, you're welcome? 1. Xie Xie said as he gnashed his teeth. I said, my name is Xie Xie. Tang Wulin woke up from his trance and raised his head to look at Xie Xie. Actually, he had noticed earlier that this youth was the one he had encountered at the Seoul train station. What are you doing? Tang Wulin coldly asked. Xie Xie's eyes flickered with a cold light as he said, come and fight with me outside of the academy. At that moment, his heart was full of humiliation. He simply couldn't understand how with his strength, he could lose to brat with a trash martial soul like blue silver grass. This brat had such a powerful fist that even now, Xie Xie had some difficulty speaking. From childhood up till now, he had never been beaten up before. He couldn't accept Long Hongshu's words or this stain on his record. He was simply feeling vexed. Get lost. Tang Wulin furiously repeated the words he had previously said to Zhu Shangxi to Xie Xie this time. What did you say? A powerful and chilling aura exploded outwards from Xie Xie's body. Tang Wulin looked at him with a pair of fiery eyes. You're still not done bullying people. 34,000 federal coins. Do you know how much 34,000 federal coins is to me? Since you're seeking death, I'll beat you to death then. In the worst case, I won't be able to attend this academy anymore. You're still bothered by that? Xie Xie stared at him blankly. He had never had to worry about money, so 34,000 federal coins was nothing to him. Tang Wulin answered, maybe 34,000 federal coins isn't much to you city people, but as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't be able to earn that much even after working for several years. Don't provoke me any further, otherwise you'll just be risking your life. As Xie Xie stared at Tang Wulin's red eyes, he wasn't sure why, but his imposing manner diminished a bit. I'll shell out the money, so come fight with me. Xie Xie coldly exclaimed. Tang Wulin asked in a daze, you'll pay for it? Xie Xie saw the redness fading away from Tang Wulin's eyes and was pleasantly surprised. He wasn't sure what he should say now to this brat. I'll pay. Xie Xie said with gritted teeth. Great. Tang Wulin was afraid he would renege, so he instantly accepted. It was 34,000 federal coins after all. When are we fighting? Just one battle and he would earn 34,000 federal coins? He would even let himself get beaten up for that much money. In front of Tang Wulin's eager appearance, Xie Xie couldn't help but feel uneasy. Tomorrow, he said, before turning around and walking away. He wanted to go treat his swollen face first, otherwise he would have to endure this kind of appearance even longer. After exiting the room, a towel appeared out of nowhere and covered his face. As Tang Wulin watched him leave, he thought to himself, these city people really are wealthy. Yun Xiao coughed. It's time for lunch now. Tang Wulin, do you want to go together? Sounds good. Tang Wulin nodded as he had gotten hungry long ago. Zhu Shangxi jumped down from the top bunk. The unwillingness and indignance had already disappeared from his face and he was clearly less hostile towards Tang Wulin than before. The cause for this change was very simple, it was because of the repair costs that totaled up to 34,000 federal coins. Tang Wulin wasn't the only one who wasn't rich there. Zhu Shangxi also came from an ordinary family. He had also been given a scare when he heard the outrageous cost for the repairs. This incident only started because of him. Tang Wulin, however, hadn't asked him for any compensation at all. This action gave him a better impression of Tang Wulin. Sun with rays. Yun Xiao lead the way with Tang Wulin and Zhu Shangxi following behind. The Intermediate Division's dining hall was a small building located to the side of the main school building. The building had 3 floors, which accommodates all 6 grades of the Intermediate Academy. First and second graders ate on the first floor. The dining hall only had tables with no chairs. This was one of the customs of East Sea Academy. Students must eat while standing, in order to increase their sense of urgency. There were 3 windows labeled 1, 2, and 3. Yun Xiao explained this to Tang Wulin, allowing him to understand that the third window had free food, the second window was subsidized, while the first window needed complete payment from the student. Naturally, the first window provided the best food, followed by the second window, while the third window provided the most basic foods. On the board next to the third window was written, steamed buns. Zhu Shangxi glanced at Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin, since the academy doesn't let us fight, how about we have a contest to see who can eat the most steamed buns? Do you dare? Tang Wulin looked at him. Are you sure there'll be enough steamed buns? Zhu Shangxi answered, of course. The third window is all you can eat. It can supply as much as you want. After all, our soul masters eat much more food than ordinary people. Tang Wulin asked, what are the stakes in this eating contest? Zhu Shangxi replied, whoever loses will be in charge of cleaning the dorm room. So if I lose, I'll wash all of your dirty clothes. How about it? Tang Wulin released a gentle sigh. I'm very hungry. Xie Xie's name sounds like thank you in Chinese. Tang Wulin misheard and reflexively answered back with, you're welcome, when Xie Xie introduced himself. Tang Wulin discovered an issue. It seemed that he ate more while standing up than when seated. There was already quite a crowd surrounding him. This guy's stomach isn't that big, yet how can he eat so much? He's about to break the record. I remember our Intermediate Academy's steamed bun record is 43. How many has this guy eaten already? He's already broken the record by eating 45. How formidable. What's more, he doesn't even look like a big eater. The steamed buns are palm-sized too. The Academy's steamed buns have always been this large. Zhu Shangxi had long since started to foolishly stare at Tang Wulin. He had always thought he could eat a lot. In fact, he had even managed to eat 20 steamed buns before becoming too full. This was simply ground meat along with vegetable soup. Tang Wulin not only ate the steamed buns, but he also drank the soup. Every 5 buns he would drink a large mouthful of soup. He looked as if he was truly enjoying himself. The palm-sized steamed buns were really delicious. They were stuffed with a big meatball on the inside. As soon as one bit into the bun, fatty juices would flow out. It truly was too delicious. What was most important, it still wasn't enough. I'll have to trouble everyone. Tang Wulin finished the 50th bun, then walked up to the third meal window. Yun Xiao patted Zhu Shangxi's shoulder. Let's go and get started on cleaning the room. Now that I know he can out-eat you, I finally understand why he's stronger. This is called the law of conservation of energy. The more one eats, the more strength they would have. Zhu Shangxi's face was decrepit as he took in this scene. Tang Wulin ordered another 20 steamed buns. Back at home, feeding Tang Wulin had been Tang Ziran and Lang Yu's greatest headache. This child was truly too capable in eating. Moreover, when Enea was there, the two were practically competing in how much they could eat. Zhu Shangxi's own eating ability was great in comparison with his peers. On the other hand, Tang Wulin was basically on a whole different level. After releasing a long sigh, Zhu Shangxi looked towards Tang Wulin. I never thought anyone could actually eat a whole cow before, but after seeing your eating prowess, I believe it to be possible now. I agreed to the bet, so I must accept this loss. I'll head back and begin cleaning first. You can continue on with setting your record. Ien. Tang Wulin hadn't been all that worried about winning or losing. For him, being able to eat until he was completely full was much more important. Sun with rays. In the end, the Intermediate Academy's steamed bun record was set at 80 buns and 5 large bowls of vegetable soup. When Tang Wulin left the dining hall feeling perfectly satisfied, all eyes were on him. After returning to the dormitory, Zhu Shangxi was cleaning the room, but avoided Tang Wulin's laundry as Tang Wulin hadn't permitted it. Tang Wulin wished to wash it himself. Yun Xiao assisted Zhu Shangxi with cleaning the room. In the end, the room's atmosphere had become much more harmonious. Right as they were finishing up with cleaning the room, Xie came in with a face wrapped in a towel. The swelling on his face had clearly been reduced by a lot, but it was still as unsightly as before. For you? He threw a paper bag towards Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin opened it and saw a pile of federal bills. In the face of all this money, Tang Wulin couldn't help but seem a bit dazed. When he had tried to earn 30,000 federal coins in glory-bound city, it had taken him a full 3 years. For these wealthy people, however, it was simply pocket money. We start class tomorrow. So tomorrow night, after school, you'll come with me? Xie coldly said. All right. Tang Wulin agreed without the slightest hesitation. Yun Xiao said, Xie, just let it be. We'll be staying in the same dormitory for the next 6 years. Xie coldly looked at him, then unceremoniously laid down on his bottom bunk. Tang Wulin asked Yun Xiao, there won't be any problems if I go out this afternoon, right? Yun Xiao answered, we haven't officially started classes yet, so naturally there won't be any issues. You just need to be back before lights go out. Otherwise, you'll be faced with disciplinary action. When he heard the words disciplinary action, Tang Wulin's heart tightened up for a moment. He didn't actually fear disciplinary action, instead he feared the potential fines. I'll be back by then. After washing his dirty clothes and blanket, Tang Wulin left the dormitory. According to Mang Qian's instructions, after arriving in East Sea City, Tang Wulin needed to go to a place called the Blacksmiths Association. Mang Qian had given him the address of his workshop in East Sea City. There wasn't anyone working there, but it still had a forging room for Tang Wulin to use. Mang Qian had told him that he needed to register at the Blacksmith Association in order to be able to accept tasks. These tasks would hone his skills. Every month, Mang Qian would come and inspect his progress as well as give him some instructions. After accepting his fate when fusing with the little grass snake, Gold Light, Tang Wulin had become much more focused on forging, especially after completing the 1,000 refinements. Completing the 1,000 refinements had made him understand that in the future, he would likely become a blacksmith like his teacher. Thus, he couldn't relax and had to continue refining his forging skills. Moreover, he could earn money by forging. In addition to supplementing his family's income, he needed money to wander the continent in search of Enea in the future. He hadn't asked Yun Xiao where the Blacksmiths Association was because he didn't want the other students to know he was a blacksmith. He first went to the administration building to pay the fines before leaving the academy's campus. East Sea City's unfamiliar atmosphere once again pressed down on Tang Wulin's heart. Glory-bound city really is the best. It was so nice and peaceful there. Although he didn't know where the Blacksmiths Association was, he still had a mouth below his nose. He could always just ask someone. After making several inquiries, he gained a rough understanding of where the Blacksmiths Association was located. East Sea City was very big. In fact, it was several times larger than Glory-bound City. For the sake of saving money, Tang Wulin walked the whole journey to the Blacksmiths Association. It wasn't too bad. The Blacksmiths Association was not that far from East Sea Academy and Tang Wulin had eaten his fill during lunch. After walking for half an hour, his destination was already in sight. The Blacksmiths Association was easily recognizable with its grey-colored building and height of 30 floors along with, at the very top, a design of a hammer. With this design, there wasn't even a need to engrave the association's name onto a plate. Tang Wulin walked through the big glass doors on the first floor and was immediately faced with a 10-meter-tall wall with an 8-meter-tall golden hammer sculpture on it. Although the Blacksmiths Association wasn't as rich as the Mecha Craftsmen's Association, it was still a necessary existence. A first-rate blacksmith status in society was exceedingly high. In fact, their status was comparable to that of mecha craftsmen grandmasters. In order to make a first-rate mecha, first-rate materials were naturally needed. As such, first-rate blacksmiths were needed to process first-rate materials. The lounge on the first floor was very spacious and empty. There were only 2 young ladies dressed in grey at the reception desk. "Little brother, who are you looking for?" When they saw Tang Wulin walk towards them, one of the 2 ladies who had a sweet-looking appearance took the initiative to stand up and greet him. Tang Wulin bashfully said, I'm here to take the blacksmith's ranking test." "Puchi?" The well-developed young lady to the side laughed and said with a smile, "Look at him, his face is already red." "Little brother, your eyes are really pretty." The sweet-looking young lady rebuked, "Don't be so noisy, Yuan. Little brother, you want to take the blacksmith's ranking test?" Tang Wulin nodded and answered somewhat anxiously, "Yes." The sweet young lady said, "Where is your family? Or your teacher?" Tang Wulin shook his head. "My teacher had me come alone and told me to find someone called Grandmaster Center Yu." When they heard the name Center Yu, the 2 young ladies' expressions stiffened and the sweet young lady hastily said, "Please wait a moment then. I'll go ask if Grandmaster Center Yu is available right now." "Have you ever spoken to Grandmaster Center over the soul communicator?" Tang Wulin shook his head once again. How could he possibly own a soul communicator? Although a soul communicator was convenient, the communication fees and the equipment costs were extraordinarily expensive. Even his hometown had only one fixed soul communicator. He was even planning to look for a coin-operated soul communicator to call his mother and father later and report that he was safe and sound. "Grandmaster Center, there's a child looking for you." "Ian." "That's right, he has really large eyes and is wearing plain clothes," the sweet-looking young lady said as she pressed down on a number to connect to Grandmaster Center. After hanging up the communicator, the sweet young lady said to Tang Wulin, "Little brother, Grandmaster Center has some time right now. Follow me." As she said this, she began guiding Tang Wulin to the side of the large hall. The well-developed lady, Yuan, stuck out her tongue as she watched them leave and said to herself, "I couldn't even tell. The little guy actually knows Grandmaster Center." When the soul elevator's metal doors opened up, Tang Wulin nearly jumped with fright. This was the first time he had ever seen anything like this. Come here." The sweet young lady didn't tease him at all. Rather, she gave him a tender smile. Tang Wulin went over to her side. The sweet young lady said, "My name is Yun Xiaoling. Grandmaster Center's office is on the 15th floor. I'll take you to see him and then he will take you to conduct the blacksmith's ranking test." "Thank you, big sister," Tang Wulin politely said. Yun Xiaoling looked at him, her gaze moving up and down, sizing him up. Although this child was wearing extremely plain clothing, he was still very good-looking. Most of all were those big eyes of his, which could even make a girl jealous. Moreover, despite his simplicity, he was extraordinarily courteous, giving others a very good opinion of him. Ding! The elevator stopped on the 15th floor and the doors opened. The walls were made of a white metal while the ceiling and floors were white too. Neat and tidy, that was Tang Wulin's first impression. There were 2 rooms on both sides of the hall leading out of the elevator. Yun Xiaoling brought him to one of the doors which had Center Yu's nameplate on it. She pressed the button above it. "Grandmaster Center, it's Yun Xiaoling. I've brought the child here." "Ian." A deep voice was heard from within the room. Then the door opened. The office was approximately 30 square meters in size with a massive wooden desk that took up nearly a quarter of the room's space. Behind the wooden desk stood a man in his 40s. This man wasn't particularly tall, but he was absolutely well-built. His shoulders were especially wide, with a black jacket resting on his deltoids. At this moment, he was looking at a design plan laid out on his desk. "Grandmaster Center." Yun Xiaoling softly called out. "Ian." Center Yu raised his head and looked over. His gaze immediately fell on Tang Wulin as he looked at him with curious eyes. You Mang Qian's disciple? Yes. Hello, Grandmaster Center teacher told me to greet you in his place, Tang Wulin said respectfully. Center Yu's eyes wrinkled as he frowned. Mang Qian, that guy had always set his eyes on surpassing the peak, yet he actually took in such a young disciple like you. Let's go then. I'll bring you to take the blacksmith's ranking test. Blacksmiths lived in the world of metal and were completely unconcerned about otherworldly matters. Although he was unconvinced of Mang Qian accepting such a young disciple, the ranking test would verify everything. Yun Xiaoling said, Grandmaster, I'll go back down then. Ian. Center Yu nodded as Yun Xiaoling smiled at Tang Wulin once more before heading off. Center Yu brought Tang Wulin out of the room soon after and once again entered the soul elevator. They rode the elevator down with Yun Xiaoling, except this time, they were getting off on the 3rd floor. As the elevator descended, Center Yu turned to Tang Wulin and said, Little guy, Mang Qian never told me what rank blacksmith you are at right now. Tang Wulin shook his head. Teacher never told me either. He just told me to come take the test and accept some tasks after. He can accept tasks. Off to the side, Yun Xiaoling couldn't help but be surprised. In order to accept tasks it meant that he was at least a rank 2 blacksmith. Rank 1 blacksmiths weren't able to directly accept tasks. Instead, a higher rank blacksmith had to accept the task and assign some of the work to them. Center Yu asked again, then do you understand how blacksmith ranks are organized? Tang Wulin nodded. Teacher said that blacksmiths are divided into 9 ranks. Rank 1 and 2 blacksmiths are master ranks. Ranks 3 and 4 are grandmaster. Ranks 5 and 6 are master craftsmen. Rank 7 and 8 are saint craftsmen, and at the very peak of rank 9, they are divine craftsmen. Ian. Center Yu nodded. Right at that moment, the elevator had reached the 3rd floor. Goodbye, big sister. Tang Wulin bid farewell to Yun Xiaoling as he followed Center Yu out of the elevator. Compared to the tranquil 15th floor, the 3rd floor of the Blacksmiths Association was much more noisy. Tang Wulin heard the familiar clanking sounds of blacksmiths at work throughout the hall. Center Yu brought Tang Wulin to the front desk and said to the staff member, Open up the testing room for me and ask a surveyor to come over. Grandmaster Center, is this your disciple? He's so young. Is he even 12 years old? The staff member curiously looked at Tang Wulin. Center Yu took some forms from the staff member and handed them to Tang Wulin. Fill these out first. Fill out your basic circumstances. Yes. Tang Wulin took the form and began to seriously fill it out. Center Yu read along from the side as he filled it out. Tang Wulin. Born in Glorybound City. 9 years old. East Sea Academy's Intermediate Division. 1st grade. You're only 9 years old. At this matter, both he and the staff member were astonished. He was only 9 years old, yet he was coming to take the blacksmith's test. This hadn't happened in the Blacksmiths Association for many, many years. Historically, the youngest testee had been 8 years and 6 months old. Moreover, that person was now working on the Blacksmiths Association's 30th floor. That person was a once-in-a-lifetime blacksmithing genius. Now in front of their eyes was a child that was only 9 years old. If he was able to pass the blacksmith's test, then what would that signify? Center Yu thought about this with even more interest because Tang Wulin had previously said that Mang Qian let him accept tasks directly. That meant this child was at least a rank 2 blacksmith. This was a record-breaking achievement. The staff member said, Grandmaster Center, testing room 3 is open. This video will end here.